Hey YouTube, it's Antoinette. I am now uploading a video about credit, the most favorite subject in the world. Yay. So I will start by saying that credit changes and credit fluctuates. And I always thought it's strange because people can start with, no credit and then have a substantially high credit score if they follow the prescribed rules for establishing good credit. And I don't know if this is like correlative or not, but the older you get, presumably, you should be able to enhance and increase your credit. But certain people have certain life experiences that happen, usually like 30s, 40s, somewhere in there. People may have a health crisis, or people may go through a foreclosure, or people may go through a repossession, or things like that, just because life happens that way. There are lots of people who don't go through these things, but life happens to people realistically. And in those years, it seems like it's the time when you're really establishing yourself. And sometimes it happens in people's 20s, like people who take risks, maybe starting businesses, maybe people go bankrupt when they're starting businesses early in life and things like that. So you can have these kind of dings to your credit. I know personally. So, uh, what I'll say is, in order to amend your credit, I would say one of the first things you should do is check your credit reports. And when you check your credit reports, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, they have the opportunity to dispute items on your credit. So if you have a item on your credit that's been there for longer than 7 years, then you can have that removed from your credit report, especially if it has to be a account that hasn't had activity on it. So if you have an account it's older than 7 years and it doesn't have any activity on it, you can have it deleted from your credit report. Sometimes though, if you have an old account and then you call to address certain matters on your account, or you make a payment on that account, what I've read and researched is that can then revive the account, and then that 7 year period may be extended. So you want to be careful, because I would definitely say try and negotiate with your creditors, right? Definitely do that. It just take into consideration that when you are negotiating with your creditors, do a cost benefit analysis. See, how long it'll take you to pay the amount, and if there are any negotiations you can make with the creditor for certain amounts that are to be paid. And take into consideration how long it will be on your credit report from the time that you discuss it with them versus from the time that you initially open that account. So that's one thing. Speak with the credit bureaus about removing delinquent or older items from your credit report that may have been delinquent. The other thing you want to do is make sure there are no accounts on your credit report that are not yours. So sometimes the credit bureaus may have information in your credit report that's not your credit, that's not your account. Everyone, uh, everyone has had instances where you have to be very vigilant in making sure that your account, your report is accurate. So that's one thing. The other thing is pay your bills on time. That's pretty standard. And if you can schedule your dates for payments, sometimes with certain like credit cards and certain other um, accounts, you can schedule when you want to make that payment. Sometimes they have like 3 alternatives, like you can do it the 1st, the 15th, or the 25th, or whatever. And if you want to have all of your bills, sometimes you may want to stagger it depending on how you get paid. If you get paid in the month, if you get paid several times per month, if you get paid several times per week, you may want to stagger your billing date, your payment date. Or if it's convenient and compatible with your schedule, then you may want to have all of your bills paid at the same time. So you say on the 1st or on the 3rd or on the 10th, I want to pay all my bills. I want to pay my electric bill. I want to pay my phone bill. I want to pay my internet bill. I want to pay any subscriptions I have. I want to pay everything. I want to pay my car insurance. I want to pay my homeowner's insurance. I want to pay everything all at one time. And so that may, and then that may work. And then also you have to take into consideration, your groceries and gas and parking, those things that you have to budget for throughout the month that can't necessarily be paid all at one time. You just set a budget aside for those items, throughout the month. And then, so checking your credit report for accuracy and those things that can be removed, having them removed. And then also making sure you pay your bills on time. I know this is kind of conventional wisdom, but just making sure that you pay your bills on time. And then also, you can write to the credit bureaus and have like a statement on record. I don't know if that helps or hurts, because basically they want to know if you're paying your bills on time. But if you had like a medical or a health crisis or something of that nature, you can, or a business has gone bankrupt, or you've had problems with the business, or you lost your business or whatever, or there were challenges in your business endeavors, you can kind of have a note on your credit report that lets people know, lets potential creditors know, hey, this is what happened in my life at this particular time. So that's the third thing. You can add a note to your credit report. And there are certain other things. Paying and giving credit to Nate O'Brien. I don't know him personally, but I have watched his videos, and a lot of what he said, I think is very useful in I think he has one about credit and certain other things. So I just want to give credit to him for those videos that he's uploaded about financial well-being. So and one of the things I wanted to state is just paying over the minimum is important. It's something that he said also. It's something I already knew, but I just was inspired to do this video based on seeing his video. So, but paying over the limit. So if you have a $25 minimum payment, then paying over that $25 minimum payment, however much you think is appropriate, depending on how much it is, maybe it's likely that the credit card companies or the company will look at how much you've paid above that. Like paying it off in full every month, if you've used your credit card, is probably the best thing to do. It is the best thing to do. At one point, I think it was American Express, and it may still be with the traditional American Express card where you have to pay it off each month. There are other American Express cards that may not require that. Certain credit cards do require paying off the entire balance at the end of the month or at the due date. But that's a good practice to pay off your entire bill each month if you use your credit card. And so that's a good thing to do. And then I recommend also budgeting. So budgeting, when you're going to get a certain amount of money, a certain amount of income, or accounts receivable and accounts payable, or whatever that is. When you receive your finances for the month, then you should definitely do a budget and live according to that budget. Budget for time with friends and family, budget for leisure activities and entertainment, budget for health and exercise, budget for health insurance, budget for food, budget for gas, budget for parking, budget for all of these things. And a lot of people who live very conservatively or very frugally live according to a budget, and I live according to a budget. So living according to a budget is a great way to improve your credit, because you'll make sure you have funds to pay all of your bills each month. And there are also alternatives. There's some companies that allow you to add certain things to your credit report that may not normally be there. Like they may say, well, add your rent to your credit report or add your car payment to your credit report. Now, these are things like if you're financing a car, it'll be on your credit report, or if you have a mortgage, it'll be on your credit report. Certain other things may not be on your credit report, but in order to build credit, certain companies allow you to add, you know, payments you're making to those companies to your credit report to show a good financial history. So those are my preliminary tips for like improving credit and having good financial management. Um, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Try to increase your income if you can. Now, everyone has a different perspective about money, and there are certain people who don't, where money is not the primary objective in their life. The people who volunteer, I volunteer a lot. There are people who value their time with their family and don't want to work very long hours. And a lot of times for people who make lots and lots of money, it requires being away from family and being away from home. And people don't necessarily want to sacrifice those things to make a lot of money. And so you have to determine what your priorities are and where you want to make the biggest impact. And if making a lot of money isn't your primary goal, then you shouldn't feel as though you should compromise that. If making a lot of money is not your primary goal, but your primary goal is to help others, or your primary goal is to leave an impact on the world, or your primary goal is to be there for your family, then keep that in mind. And when making a budget those things into your life and make it so that you are utilizing your money in the most effective way. So you don't have to be, well, there's a scripture that says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money is not the root of all evil, but the love of money. So it's not necessary. You shouldn't necessarily be love. You shouldn't necessarily love money, but money does. And then there's another saying says, "Cream, cash rules everything around me." Money makes the world go round. So these things are very important in terms of considering what your financial objectives are, and also planning. Planning is a good way to have financial stability. If you plan, not just budgeting financially, but planning things you want to have in your life, planning for a family, planning for marriage, right? Of course, marriage is a two-part thing, and if you don't really do that individually. It's something that you have to coordinate with another person. But just generally knowing if you want to get married and the type of things you seek in your marriage and those types of things. So, planning for marriage, and I didn't say the wedding, even though that's very, very important to a lot of people. But some people get married in at the justice of the peace. So it's not a priority for everyone. But planning for family, planning for that next big purchase if you're purchasing a car, planning for that next big purchase if you're purchasing a house, if you're going back to school, planning for educational purposes, right? All of these things are very, very important. So budgeting is one thing financially, planning for life, and then allocating funds and resources for those big ticket items, and knowing how much you have to earn in order to be in the black, right? So I think the red is where you don't want to be, and I think the black is where you want to be. To have a balanced budget. So even though the term black doesn't sound like it's correct, but I'm pretty sure it's B. You want to be in the black. So those are my kind of tips. So part of it has to do with credit, but some of it just has to do with financial planning. So yeah. And then the other thing is, a lot of people don't recognize the importance of tithing and giving, charitable donations and tithing, and kind of paying it forward and giving in your lifestyle. So it's very important. Also, people tithe in different ways. Some people give to their family members. Some people volunteer. Some people do certain things, and not everyone says, "Well, I'm going to give my money or my time away," because time is money. So people, and you should be paid for your effort. I would just say my own personal life, I do a lot of charitable giving, and I think, there are people who are philanthropists and so on and so forth, but I think it's very, very critical to acknowledge and be grateful for the things that have occurred in your life, in one's life, and I'm very thankful for things that have occurred in my life, and I therefore try and pay it forward, and, giving to my alma mater, my prior institutions I've attended, giving to, if there's a veterans, um, uh, fund, giving to a veterans fund, or there are people who give, for, children in, just children, generally children who may have certain disabilities or issues, or who are in other countries, people who give to environmental causes, and so, and the people who tithe 10% of their income or their increase, and people debate over whether it's income or increase, but 10% of their income to church, and people debate where how the money is then allocated after it's given to the church. But tithing is meant to be a show of appreciation to God for the blessings you've had in your life. So those are my brief kind of tips. The first being, you know, checking your credit report for accuracy, and removing any items that don't need to be there. Um, you know, checking your credit report, or maybe adding a note to your credit report if you need to do so. Paying your bills on time, paying over the limit on credit. Then maybe adding certain accounts to your credit report if you have a history of paying those accounts really, really well, and you want to kind of get credit for it, or have it reflected in your account, in your credit report. Then making that request to have those accounts on your credit report, um, and then the other types of things that are financial management, such as budgeting, such as planning, and then also tithing and charitable giving. So those are my thoughts on improving one's credit and having good financial management. And I hope that you are looking forward to a 2020 with good credit and a good financial increase. So this is Antoinette signing off.